If you enjoy driving, the two vehicles behind us will not set your soul on fire. But that's not their mission in life. These are vehicles for the masses.
That's right. For better or worse, most people are really just interested in a car that's fuel efficient, reliable, easy to drive, and relatively spacious.
Yes, safe to say, these are the white bread vehicles of the automotive world.
But hold on a second, Mike. A lot of people like white bread. In fact, these two cars last year were the best selling in America.
The Accord comes standard with a 2.4-liter four-cylinder engine. It produces 184 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque. Our Accord came equipped with the continuously variable transmission, but a 6-speed manual is available. Expect 27 miles per gallon city and 36 miles per gallon highway for the four-cylinder Accord. The Accord starts at a price of $21,680, but our loaded-up EXL test vehicle came in at $29,995.
As equipped, our Camry gets a 2.5-liter four-cylinder that makes 178 horsepower and 170 foot-pounds of torque. That engine gets 25 miles per gallon in the city or 35 on the highway and comes mated with a standard 6-speed automatic. Pricing kicks off at $22,850 including delivery, but ratchets up to $28,520 for our more luxurious XLE trim. Last year the Camry got a redesign, and there's really nothing different here stylistically. But some of the key points you might remember are a revised front fascia, new fog lights, and a bolder grille. The taillights also got larger with a new convex shape that helps spice up the Camry's styling. Conventional proportions keep it out of ugly territory, but it still doesn't hold up to the Accord's curb appeal.
But that's not to say the Accord is a styling masterpiece. However, the evolutionary styling over the previous generation has been pulled off very successfully. Plus, the Accord has the ever-trendy LED daytime running lights and these cool dual LED headlights on both sides. Out back, you guessed it, more LED lights.
Cabin to cabin, the Camry wins with almost no contest. That's because as you climb through the trim levels in these two cars, you come closer to looking like the luxury brands that they sit underneath. That, of course, is Lexus and Acura. In this case, that plays directly into the Camry's hand, because Lexus actually competes with German brands like Mercedes, Audi, and BMW, where Acura sits in a second-tier luxury category that's more associated with less desirable brands. Touches like the wood look trim throughout the cabin and the aluminum look bezels around the cup holders, the shift knob, and many other places in the cabin go a long way to make it feel an awful lot nicer. So does the stitching that sits on the dash. But there are some problems with this interior. Specifically, this plastic piece here on the center stack has fake stitching and it just looks cheap. It feels awful. And similarly, this compartment here in the center also feels like something you'd expect to see on a rental car. And something I found particularly strange is the fact that this black plastic doesn't actually match the black plastic on the center stack. It would have been nice if they would have done that.
The Accord features a well laid out dashboard design. The front seats are wide, squishy, and comfortable, and all the controls are where you'd expect to find them. If you buy one of these Accords, find a menu item named Interface Dial Feedback and turn it off. It is the most infuriating system I've ever encountered. As the text-to-speech gets so far behind, it will freeze the entire system up for 10 to 15 seconds and completely lock you out of it. It's just mind-blowing that the Honda engineers could design such an attractive gauge cluster but screw up the text-to-speech so badly.
Unfortunately, there's really no hiding the fact that the Camry can be a little bit dull to drive, and it's sort of funny to think that Toyota runs it in NASCAR, because there's really not very much in common here. Still, the 2.5-liter four-cylinder does provide plenty of power for your daily commute, and it doesn't feel particularly underpowered. This car only comes with a 6-speed automatic, and that stands in comparison to the Accord, which comes with either a manual or a CVT. Most people aren't going to pick the manual anyway, though, so in my opinion, it really doesn't matter that much. What does matter, on the other hand, is the fact that this automatic transmission still has manual gear selection. And that's important to me because it lets me select which gear I'm in, and especially during winter driving, that's a little bit of extra security that I really appreciate having. Steering and handling in the car do feel a little bit uninspired at times, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because most people who drive the car are going to feel that and see it more as the car being predictable and easy to understand and handle.
The Camry is the easier vehicle to drive of the two, but the Accord feels more refined. Despite having a CVT, it's almost flawless in all its actions. The CVT is one of the best I've ever driven, and you don't really notice it's there. The engine doesn't drone, and it perfectly simulates gears without giving up any compromises to fuel economy. Steering feel, throttle response, and chassis dynamics all favor the Accord. The Accord does feature a sport mode, but it doesn't have any way to manually select gears or feature any paddle shifters, fitting for a car with no gears. In the end, there can only be one winner. I personally would pick the Accord. I prefer its exterior styling, I find the interior more comfortable, and I love its trick features like the lane watch camera. And the fact it's a better driving vehicle and gets better fuel mileage in the real world is just icing on the cake.
Yeah, but the fuel mileage really isn't all that different, and it looks like we're going to keep butting heads on this one, Mike, because for my money, it's all about the Camry. Personally, and you can call me selfish on this one, I prefer a car that looks better on the inside, even if it means compromising the exterior styling just a little bit.
Honestly, both cars are great, and it all comes down to your personal preference. If you put a priority on curb appeal and driving dynamics, pick the Accord.
On the other hand, if luxury and predictability mean more to you than that, you belong in the Camry.
For more on this car comparison and others like it, visit AutoGuide.com.